Mr. Alfonso. How are you?
How are you, Miss Doyle? Hello, hello.
Good.
How are you guys?
Good. I don't know if you've ever met Miss Avery. She's the counselor. She was not. Jocelyn was here.
No, I have not had the opportunity to meet Miss Avery. Pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
How have you enjoyed Leonard?
Oh, it's great.
Is this your first year or is this year two?
Two.
Okay. Yeah. I thought last year I had seen an email come out welcoming you on board.
Yep. That was me.
How's this school year been so far, Mrs. Doyle?
It's interesting, that's for sure. It's not the way I would like 8th grade to go, but they're doing great. They're actually, if I don't know if you believe it, they're very quiet. They do not like. We put them in breakout groups, especially in the morning, to do work together, and they don't want to. They just do it by themselves, or they're just really quiet. I don't know. Yeah,
I got a feeling that they're probably using some sort of other means to communicate.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when it's quiet and all of a sudden I see someone just start laughing. I'm like, ugh, they're on a group chat. We're on to them.
Yeah, we have a lot of that at work. That we have a younger bunch at work, and by younger they're under the age of 25, and sometimes we'll be in meetings and there's gaffes that happen like in any meeting, but you will see that group will instantly be like, just like I'm set up right now, they'll look down to their keyboard, they'll start typing, and then it's like the snickering and laughing.
Yeah.
On mute, and obviously you can see that people are laughing on mute.
Oh, yeah, I see it all the time. But now their thing is they don't like to show their faces. So I'll be like, just flash your camera or just so I know that you're there. I don't know. But their new game is after school, they like to play this Among Us. So they put a code in the chat and then they all play. So today I kicked him out. I'm like, I can't say today, but we can do it again tomorrow. So we have a hit or miss. At least they're hanging out with, having fun with each other. And that's, yeah.
Yeah, Jocelyn was telling me about Among Us. Yeah, I think Nicholas is trying to get me to join, but I've resisted because they know I get a little addicted to those games that they start playing. But yeah, they said it was like we were during the summer we were playing a game online with family that I guess you're trying to find the alien on the ship or something. They said it was something similar to that.
We used to play that like a card game growing up, and whoever got like the king was like the killer, and they would have to wink at you, and then if you got winked at, then you were out, and someone else like you had to try and find out who the winker was. So I think same way, yeah. Yeah, they wanted to know if I wanted to play. I'm like, I don't know if that's really appropriate. You guys can play and have fun. I was tempted, but I'm like, I can't do that. We have like 13 people here so far. Hi, good afternoon. Thanks for coming.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Okay, so we have about 14 people so far. So Miss Avery, you think 2 more minutes? It's just 6 o'clock now. Okay. As people are coming in. One thing I know, I don't know if it's in the slide, but I did mention to your kids, if you're interested in private school, there is that Daniel Murphy scholarship. So that deadline's coming up. If that's something and you want to research, it's all online too. It's a good option if that's something that you're thinking of. But we'll talk more scholarships. Okay, we're at 13 parents. We're at select 15. So how is 8th grade going for everybody else so far? We're hanging in there, loving remote learning, hating remote learning.
So far, so good.
Okay, good.
Interesting for me.
Yeah.
So far, so good.
What's happening here?
Mm-hmm. Okay, no. 1, 1, 2,
Oh.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Thanks, Ms. Stoll, for really opening up every day with the conversation about debate. Emily's been having breakfast at the beginning, and sometimes I'm on the side. Yeah, it's hard for everyone, this remote learning.
Yeah. Right. So
Maybe-
we're looking for new ways to like get them comfortable in the morning. They're really quiet in the morning.
Yeah.
So
There are times I asked Emily, you can respond, and she said, no, I don't have to.
I know. I think that's what everybody thinks. So now someone gave me the idea, and Miss K was doing it, and they used to watch CNN 10 all the time. So 3 days a week, we'll watch CNN 10 a little bit in the morning as a icebreaker, and it's hooking me on it. I like it a lot. But I'm trying to other ways. And then Miss Avery does a
I have
on Monday, Friday to just get them talking about things going on in the world and how they're feeling. They're really quiet. That's all I keep saying. They're just really quiet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe it's this age. I don't know.
And it is hard over the computer when they're not sitting next to the person. And I know it is hard. I don't know if Miss Avery is still here. I think I lost her.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, okay. All of a sudden you were gone from my little time. So what do you think, Miss Avery? You want to go ahead and start, and if people come in, they can.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, perfect. So thanks so much for coming again. I'm going to hand it over to Miss Avery. She's our counselor. I'm sure we met last year, abbreviated year that we had. So she's going to take over our Go CPS application process.
Thank you, Miss Doyle, and Miss Doyle will be jumping in as well, but we will go ahead and get started. So again, thank you guys for joining. We will be talking about the Go CPS high school application process. On this very front page, there are 2 very important dates. The first one is when the application opens, which is October 12th, and then the deadline on December 11th. The first thing we'll be going through is how to open your online account. So this is the first step in the process. Here, you will be asked to create a profile. You can find this on go.cps.edu, and you will click sign up. They will ask you to create a username and password. If you've had students previously who have completed this, it will be the same username and password. Make sure you write this down. We will not have access to this. So if you lose your login or password, you will have to reach out to a 1-800 number that we can give you if that does happen, but it's just helpful to write it down. Here you will be asked to fill in just some general demographic information. They make sure to highlight that it's important that you provide the address that the student will be residing in. That determines their tier and also looks at where their neighborhood school will be. After you complete this screen, you will be asked 2 different questions. The first one is if your child is new to CPS. I don't believe we have any students who are new to CPS. So to that, you will click no. And the second question is your child a CPS public charter or contract student? To that, you will click yes. Once you answer these questions, you'll be prompted to enter your activation code. Those were sent out in the mail. You should have received them. If you did not, you can reach out to me. I do have access to the activation codes. From here, you'll be able to look at different scores and grades, but you will not be able to access this application again until October 12th. So in the NWEA scores are a little different this year. Each year they're used for eligibility and selection of the high school. Typically CPS uses the spring NWEA scores from the student's 7th grade year. However, since that exam wasn't administered in spring 2020, CPS will be looking at the scores from the NWEAs that were administered during previous school years. And what they will do is it's kind of a super score. We'll go to the next slide and it explains that a little bit. But first it says if your student did not take the NWEA scores, then they will be able to take it in October 2020. But again, I don't think this applies to any of our students currently. So this is a look at what I was speaking of about the kind of a super score that they're doing for the NWEA. And basically what it does is it takes the highest score from their reading and math over spring 2019, fall 2019, and winter 2019 tests, and then uses that to determine their scores for eligibility. Also, I just want to say, if you all have any questions about this, feel free to put it in the chat, and we will visit those maybe as we're going through this presentation or at the end. Also, generally, the part of the score is based on attendance, but because attendance wasn't tracked during remote learning, it will not be used for the selections this year. So now we're going to look at eligibility. When you are able to access the application, you will see what schools your student is eligible to apply for. If you're wanting to apply for something, but it turns the school is gray, that means that the student is not eligible to apply for that school. And that means they don't meet the eligibility requirements. The different types of schools the students can apply for are selective enrollment and choice programs. So these are the 11 selective enrollment there are 11 selective enrollment high schools and numerous choice programs. So every school that's not on this list is a choice program. You can apply for up to 6 selective enrollment schools and up to 20 choice programs. We'll talk a little bit about the search toolbar, but I do want to note how important it is that you apply for the amount of schools that the student may be interested in. We know a lot of the students do want to go to selective enrollment high schools. However, there are a lot of really, really great choice programs, and we encourage you to apply for as many as fits the interest of your student. So again, that can be up to 20. I was talking a little bit about the search function. When you go to the go.cps.edu website, you can click search, and here is where you can filter your schools. They're filtered by program type and group, and you can also see how far the school is from your home. So it's not very big, but it kind of breaks down the school and some of that information if you can see through the search function. Also on the search function, what you can do is compare up to 4 schools at a time. So basically that lets you look at the grades that are offered at that school, the programs, how they did on SATs overall. It also looks at various cultural things. So we really encourage you to use this search function when you're searching for schools. This slide talks a little bit about the open houses. I know in the email that Mrs. Doyle sent, she provided a link to an open house board that I created. Basically what that is it is the open houses for the high schools where you're able to ask different questions and kind of get to know more about that specific school. I provided the date that it will take place, the time, and then also how you can get contact or who you can contact in order to in order to get an invitation to go to that virtual event. If you don't have access to that, let me know, I can send that again. And then also there is a CPS list that you can find by going to the go.cps.edu website and looking at the dates and events area. Those are the same things that I posted. I've had contact with some of the other school counselors, so I have a few additional dates on there, but feel free to check that out as well. So after you decide which schools and programs your student wants to apply to, you will be asked to rank them. Now, this is very important. The selection process is designed to offer the student the highest ranked school program on their application for which they are qualified and which there are available seats. So it's extremely important for you to list the schools on the application in their order of choice. So just make sure that you think through this. If you really want your student to go there, put them at number 1. I do also want to note that you can change this ranking up through December 11th when the application closes. But the application closes at 11:59 p.m. So I would be careful about rearranging schools that late, but you still do have the option. So again, this just states how you want to rank the schools in order of your preference. It says that this is the order in which your child will be considered for the schools and programs on your application. So just note that when you're ranking at number 1, you actually do want that to be your number 1. So you don't, if you're unsure if your child will, for instance, make it into Whitney Young, maybe don't put that as your number 1. Kind of think through some of those logistical things, like whether they will have enough points to get in, whether that's the right area for you just based on traveling. So just think through those things as you're ranking your program. This talks a little bit about admissions screening. So in order to get into some of the programs, there are some additional requirements, and some of those requirements include admissions exams, auditions, essays, information sessions, interviews, or teacher recommendations. Not all programs require all of these, but some of them do have some of these additional requirements. It does say that selective enrollment high school admissions exams will be scheduled and they will be released at a later date. So right now, if your student is applying for a selective enrollment high school, you will not know that date right away. So, but they will contact you with the exam date, the time, and location. Okay, so this talks a little bit about the selection process. Basically, it's designed to offer the student the highest rated program on their application for which they apply. So students are considered for each program in the selection process by 1 or 2 methods. It's either based on a point system or a computerized lottery. So points are generally based on the student's NWEA scores, their grades from 7th grade, and or the admission screenings results. The lottery numbers are randomly assigned by a computer. This talks about the single offer model. So the application process for high schools is a single offer model, and that means at most, students can receive an offer from only one selective enrollment program and only one choice program. So it's possible for a student to receive an offer from only one selective enrollment or only one choice program, or no offers from either. If that's the result, they are offered always a seat at their neighborhood school. But it is important for families to apply to as many programs as the student would consider attending. So students are not guaranteed a seat in the students are guaranteed a seat in the general education program at their designated neighborhood school. So note that if a student accepts an offer from their neighborhood school, you'll be required to provide proof of residency. So this states that offers will be released in spring 2021. So if you apply online, it will be posted to that Go CPS account that you apply for. If you go to your Go CPS account, the results will be there. So you can just access the same website where you applied for the high schools. So During these first round offers, there are several options. You can accept a first round offer and enroll in the school. You can decline a first round offer and apply for different programs in the second round. However, if you do accept a first round offer, and apply for a different school in the second round offer, then your first round offer will be off the table. So it's automatically forfeited. So just be careful and note that. But that's why, again, we encourage all students to apply for multiple programs this time around so that this isn't an issue. And I know I went through that pretty quickly. So we will open up for questions or comments if you have any at this time.
Just
Or
for the testing, I'm sorry, Ms. Avery. So it would be their spring test they took in sixth grade, in May of sixth grade. Then their fall test they took last fall in September. And that winter test, when they're like 2019, 2020, we actually took that test in December last year. So those are the 3 tests they can choose from. So spring is sixth grade, fall is seventh grade, and that winter of seventh grade also. Where it's either January, December, January. We actually took the test in December last year. So you have 3 choices to pick from, if that makes sense. Also, the teachers have worked with the students to determine the amount of points they have currently. I can also provide to you a website provided by CPS that allows you also to calculate how many points your student has. So you have an idea of the high schools that they are eligible for. We did that in class the other day. They put the website in the chat and the kids were calculating based on what they knew their final grades were last year. And I had sent, and hopefully you've seen them, I've sent the NWA scores 2 weeks ago. So they were online calculating it. And the site will also calculate or tell you what tier you live in. So it will help with that.
I was a few minutes late to the meeting, but the test, will they have another opportunity also to take the NWEA test?
No, only if you are not a CPS student, like if you're going to come from a private school to go to select enrollment,
Okay.
they can take the test in October. Our students, you only have those 3 tests to choose from, but they are going to super score. So they'll take the highest math score out of the 3 and the highest reading score out of those 3 dates.
Is that for eligibility only? How about selections? How is the selection process?
That's for a selection. That's for selective enrollment process.
So that's so my understanding is that there is eligibility if there is certain score, your students are scored at below a certain threshold. So that's one criteria. So this is what we are talking about is the scoring of the actual
Correct.
selective.
So if you were to go on your Go CPS accounts in October 12th and the schools that are grayed out, your student wouldn't be able to apply to. All of our kids, their grades are high enough that we're all going to be able to apply for selective enrollment. So that's when it looks at those 3 NWA scores, the 7th grade scores, and then that entrance exam test that they're going to take in the winter. So it'll be at a total of 900 points.
Yeah, do we have, is that automatically pick the highest score or we have to manually pick the highest score when we
Miss Avery, I would believe the CPS would, but I'm not sure what the Go CPS, what your application is going to look like yet. If you're going to have to plug those numbers in or if CPS is going to do it for you.
The CPS will automatically select the highest score.
Okay.
Do we know where these tests will take place? Is this something we have to take the kids, or they're taking that at school, or is it remotely?
So they're hoping to do it in person, but it's usually on a Saturday. So to take the student there. In the past, you were able to sign up for what schools were closest to you and according to the dates. But since they'll tell you the dates, I'm sure they'll give you a location site and that you'll pick the location.
Do you know an approximate time that they provide that information?
It's generally they do that in spring 2021. So somewhere in that time band, but they don't provide, this year they didn't provide a exact date just because they're unsure with COVID.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, were you asking when they're gonna take the test or when will they get the results?
When would they provide a time, the date for the test?
Okay, so the test is gonna be in the winter sometime, so I'm not sure when they're gonna put that out. That you sign up, I'm assuming they're waiting to see what's happening with COVID and everything, when we can go back in person. But
Correct.
we need to have that entry exam test in the winter. And
So I'm just trying to wrap my mind around this. If COVID impacts the ability to meet in person, then that may push back testing possibly. We don't know.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
they haven't provided any guidance on that yet. Right now, they're assuming that we will be back in person. However, they said they would update us as soon as anything changes.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
What about if you,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Sharon, go ahead.
I'm sorry, what if you get a date, but that date is not, the date that you want, like,
Like if there's a conflict?
if you're taking say you're taking a test. Yes. Because I know before in the past, I think you were able to select your date. I think that's what you just said. But now if they give you a date, what if you can't make it?
I would go ahead, Ms. Avery.
So from my understanding, it will be similar still, that you will have an opportunity to select a date. However, again, protocol will be a little different just due to sizing restrictions. But I do believe they will still allow you to select a date.
Thank you.
Hi, I have a question. Sorry. How you doing? This is Miss Ginyard. I have a question regarding I think it was the Padlet that was sent out. What is that exactly? And so is that where you house all of the what is the virtual open houses that they're going to have?
Yes.
Or is
Yes.
it different than what Miss Avery mentioned? I'm not sure.
No, that's what Ms. Avery set up for us, that Padlet that shows all the open houses. So it's just like
Okay.
an information board. You can see when the high schools are hosting their open houses.
Okay. And is that the final or is it updated? Is it a working document where you're updating as you get information?
I am updating as I get information from different counselors and schools. So
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Ms. Avery.
And then the last question for me is, in order to attend the virtuals, you do need to email that contact to make sure you get the link to be on the virtual. Okay.
Yes, and if they're so far from every contact I've had, they ask that whoever is interested they email so that they can get a count.
Okay, not a problem. Thank you.
We're not video.
I have a question regarding the point scoring. So with the NWEA, it says if you 1 year you got, let's say, 94% in math, and the next year you got 96%. How do you calculate that? Because if you pick the 96%, where does that place you as far as the other children? Is it just based on the score?
Yeah.
And they get re-ranked?
You would plug that percentage into your points. So when you go to that GoCPS point calculator, say you pick the 96, and then you would go ahead and you would put the 96 in that, and that will calculate it for you.
Okay. And then the score you get back from that.
And sometimes he said you.
I'm not sure what the score is. It says maximum points and minimum points, but test points needed, it doesn't have anything.
Are you looking at different high schools? Is that what you're looking at? Or I'm not.
No, I'm just looking at the point calculator on CPS.edu.
Okay.
So I just I'm not sure where that is exactly. I just sent in the chat box the link to the point calculator that we were provided. And what it asks is the NWEA reading percentile, the NWEA math percentile, and then 7th grade grades. And then additionally the tier. And once you select that information, you can calculate and it provides you your points.
Okay. Thank you.
And then at the bottom of the web page, it also compares those scores to the selective enrollment schools. So like Brooks and Hancock, Jones, etc.
Do you know for Jones, previous years, they have this TCE programs that are for neighborhood kids? Do they still do that?
Yes, so that is part of their magnet school. So I think one is engineering and one is law that they have.
Yes.
Apply through that through the choice. You know how we had select enrollment or choice programs? You would apply through that through the choice programs when you get to
Okay.
20. So you can put those in as one of your 20.
And I can select both, right? Both programs, the regular. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I have one more question. The point calculator, you said it's on gocps.edu. Do you have to sign in already, or it's right here on the front homepage?
Scroll down to the bottom.
Thank you.
Yeah, and were you able to see it in the chat?
I did, but I'm on my phone and that's
Okay.
Zoom. I'm on CPS. So I just copied it and sent it, but you said it's at the bottom. Okay, thank you.
And then, all right, so I just want to make sure I fully understand this. So I put in the points and it says, it gives me, it says 583 points for NWEA grades combined. What does that mean exactly? Because that means there's some points that I still need.
Okay, so that would be out of 600 points so far. The entrance exam that he's going to take is another 300 points. So a perfect score would be 900 points.
I see. And
So
every school
everyone is 2/3 of the way there. Yeah,
Got
we've taken 2 parts of it. We have 1 more to go.
Awesome. All right. Thank you.
I don't know if anyone else has any more questions. We will help you through this whole process. I know it's really overwhelming at first. So anytime you have questions, email us, email me, email Miss Avery as we're going through this. And this year is totally different, even the way they have it all set up. So if we don't have the answer for you right away, we will get back to you as fast as we can and we'll find out, the best way we can help you and your student. Sorry.
Okay. Doyle, last question. I know on Wednesdays you guys have the 5-minute check-in. Could we check in and ask questions then so you can eliminate email? Okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to jump in with us, no problem.
Okay.
I have to tell you, Miss Smolin is the expert on this because she lived the process last year. So like I've never gone through this process with a child except with my classes, but she lived it last year. So
okay.
In the past, CPS would announce at the end of March. That's usually when we found out in the past year. I'm not sure if that's still going to be at the end of March. I know there's other options and other kids were looking at other private schools, either the Catholic schools or the independent private schools like Latin and Lab, Francis Parker. So you do need to kind of check to make sure when those open houses are. Some of those independent schools, they were having them take like ACT or SAT tests in order to get in. So you just need to check with that. If you're interested in the Catholic schools, all Catholic schools have the same test date of December 5th.
Yep.
So you can't, like if you are torn between 2 private schools, 2 Catholic schools, you can't take the test at either one. You just have to pick one school and take the test at. That's where we're at. But we can help you with those options too. We just really encourage the kids to cast a really wide net. There's a lot of great choice schools out there that offer a lot of things. Like who knew we had a farm in the city? That could be a school if your child really likes agriculture and they like farming or that science environment. We have a school in Chicago that does that. The IB programs are great programs. So there's a School of the Arts, there's military. So there's really a lot of choice programs out there. So just cast a wide net and start investigating. And again, whatever you need, we're here to help navigate this.
I do have one more question. Last time we met, we brought up the topic of scholarships if you're interested in Catholic schools. And I want to be clear on if you know any deadlines for the Daniel Murphy Scholarship.
October 16th.
Okay, the 16th. Okay, thank
you. And then check, and we said too, if people are interested in certain Catholic schools, check their websites because they do have, since we're really good test takers at our school, there's schools out there, if you get a 98 or 99 on the test, they'll give you a percentage off your tuition. So that's an option too, if you're looking that way. But Daniel Murphy is the 16th. And if that's, you're interested in that, that's a lot of work on our end too, like writing recommendations. So just let us know as soon as we can so we can start the process.
Thank you.
Yeah. And we should be able to post this. This was being recorded. So once it downloads, I'm hoping that I should be able to post it to the 8th grade classroom page might be the best, or maybe I can try and send it in an email. I have to work my tech skills, which are not always excellent.
Ms. Doyle, has this been recorded?
Yes,
to
I
review?
Yep. I just said that. I've been recording, so I'm going to post that either to Classroom or I can send you the email once it uploads onto the computer.
Thank you
You
so
can always
much.
send a link as well, like put it in a Google Drive or something and just share the link.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's gonna be too
It'll
large.
be too big to send over.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, like I said, I'll work my tech skills. I think I should have your kids help me with it because they're much better with some tech skills than I am at this point. We're all learning. Is there any other questions or concerns about this 8th grade? The link would be great. Okay.
One quick question. I know everybody's very ready to go, but do you have, like, I've been looking at certain schools, like there's Whitney Young, Jones, Walter Payton, you know, certain ones. Do you have any knowledge of some of the other schools that might be really good schools as far as academically or otherwise that we may not be thinking of?
Definitely all those select enrollment schools are all great. So you have 11 really strong choices. Any IB program, they are really great. Lincoln Park has a great IB program. I think a lot of it comes down to like location. For example, I always say Lane Tech is an awesome school, but how are you going to get there? So, you know, take into consideration your commute. Like, is Whitney a choice for you? How, you know, what's your plan? How you can get there? Are you, I know someone said their brother went to Lane Tech and they took 2 buses, 2 trains and a bus. Is that something for your family? So there's a lot of good options, but since it's citywide, what is your best option for transportation? And plus, if your student's planning on spending time in extracurricular activities, you know, how is that going to play into your transportation? Definitely all those 11 schools on that list are great for select enrollment. And a lot of those great magnet schools too. I guess it's just what they're interested in. Like also not besides the academics, look to see, do they have programs they're interested in? Do they like their athletic programs, their music programs, their theater, anything like that. So also, you know, look to see what they're interested in besides just academics, because all these schools have so much to offer. I heard that the select enrollment test, the kids do come back and they say it's easier than the NWA because it is a grade level. And the kids hate when I say this, but the more Alex you do and the more Membeam you do is that's for you. Yes, Kenwood is a really good school that has a lot to offer also. Thank you. I didn't have that off the top of my head.
And also on the search function, there is something that the schools have been labeled like a grade 1+ school. That's also indicative of their academics as well. And you can find that also on the search function.
You mentioned that the selective enrollment test is easier than the NWEA. Is it not like the test they take in 6th grade for getting into the academic centers where it's more intelligence oriented rather than academic skills? Is this one academic skills again?
I believe this is more academic skills. The kids, this is just what I've not taken the select enrollment, but every time the kids come back, I'll say, how did it go? And they're like, oh, that was easier than I thought it was going to be. And I'm not going to tell them that's easier. I don't want them to blow it off. But they would come back and they'd say, I'm glad you did that, Alex, or I'm really glad Membeam really helped. Because there is a vocabulary part that they don't have a lot of time with, but there's a lot of words. And our kids are always able to finish that because they have done so much Membeam. Yes, big grammar section. And that's also great that they do all those grammar packets with Miss Smolin. Anything else? Anyone that's already gone through this process, like has an older student, would like to give some suggestions, what helped, what didn't help, you need to worry about, especially for first timers going through this process?
Make sure you hit the deadline, guys. That's probably the best advice I can give you. My daughter Jocelyn went to Leonard and she ended up going to Northside Prep and is now studying at UIC. So the best advice is just stay on the deadlines and all the hard work, the kids have already done it. So like, I don't want to blow it off to say it's just selecting a school, but like the kids put a lot of weight on themselves trying to get into Northside Prep, trying to get into Peyton. And it's like, I know students that ended up going to Lane and, the colleges that they ended up going to, Northwestern and things of that nature. So it's like, while high school is important, it's not the end all be all. So as long as you hit the deadlines, I think that's like the big piece with all of it.
Absolutely. And we will be on you. We'll start looking. I'm going to say our deadline should be around Thanksgiving to make sure you have it all in. And if you don't, you'll be hearing from Miss Avery and I almost every day until we know everyone is in, because we can see it at our end. Someone asked a question about the interview process. The interview process is more for the choice schools than select enrollment. Like for Shy Arts, you might have to do some type of audition. So most select enrollments do not have an interview. It's just based on those 900 points. And I tell our kids that the high school doesn't make them, they make their high school. Sometimes we get so stuck on going to Peyton because it has such good reputation, but Peyton's not always going to be the best fit for maybe not the best fit for your child. They're not the best fit for every one of our students. They might excel better at a different school. So like we said, the high school doesn't make them, they make their high school experience of the school that's a right fit for them and the activities and the extracurricular and the relationships that they make that will get them best prepared for college, because, I keep telling them college, it's not an option, you're going. So what will help them to get their goals the best?
I'm just curious, like how many students from Leonard actually attended IMSA, and how have they found, this almost early introduction to almost college life? Was it overwhelming with having to, do their work as well as their domestic things that they had to take care of?
So a lot of the kids don't get into IMSA right away, because when you go to IMSA right after you start as a sophomore, so they really encourage a lot of students to do a year at their home high school before applying. Now we've had kids gotten in. I've had a few kids that got in as 8th graders. I've had another student that got in as a sophomore. So it is hard, and it depends on your student. Is your student going to be responsible enough to get up on their own, to do their own laundry, to be able to do their work on their own? And it is a lot of work. There is a lot of assistance there, but IMSA is not for everyone. It depends on how independent your student can be. So that is the biggest thing.
And have you been able to advise parents, just based off of your interactions with our students, just, what your opinion would be with a suitable high school for the student based off of, your interaction with them?
You know what? I like to leave that up to them and to their parents. I don't want to make my opinion known. I have faith that all our kids are going to do really well when they get to their high school that they're going to. So, like that, like the only thing I would say, like, oh, I've said this before, like someone wants to go to Lane. My biggest worry would be like, okay, what's your plan? How are you going to get there? Tell me your plan. So that's probably the most advising I would do. But it's up to the family and what's the best fit for you and your child and your family. Is a 2-hour commute going to work into your family, or would it be better something else? I know I'm focusing a lot on commuting, but it does play a big part of your day too. So.
And for parents that have gone through this, do you have any advice for parents, first time in picking the right schools? If your child has their eye on one school and you're thinking, I don't know if it's the right fit. Like, how do you steer that conversation? Can you give any tips on that?
My son Anthony, he tested to get into McDade. He came from McDade, and then he tested to get into Leonard. And because we also selected academic centers, and he didn't get into any of the academic centers, but we did have Leonard on our list. So I would suggest I would recommend you list it on your kid's ability. Like for Anthony, I know his struggles. And so I wouldn't put a school like Whitney Young on the list or number one choice, because I know his abilities and I know his shortcomings and I know his strengths. So I wouldn't put a school on the list just because I like that school, but doesn't mean that my child may do well in that school. So it's all about knowing your child, and what their capabilities are and their strengths. I would suggest too, because a lot of kids that were in McDade, and when they took their tests and their parents listed their schools, some of them did put Whitney Young on there, and their kid was not ready for Whitney Young. And so they didn't get selected into any schools because their expectations were potentially, I don't want to say too high for their child, but their child didn't meet the criteria to get into that school. So to me, it's all about being realistic on your child's strengths.
Good points. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I would just add that, like many people have said, it's really get into a decent school, but the school name is not the be all end all. And the commute, I can't emphasize that enough. As we had our older daughter went to Ogden for a while. She did middle school there, which she bused to, but then she was there as a freshman, and hers was a bus and a train and over an hour. And then she was dedicated and lucky enough both to transfer into Jones, which for her was a much, much shorter commute. And that did make her life, just the everyday living of life, so much better. And I think probably a lot of us know that already. I mean, Sophia spends over an hour to get to school, closer to an hour and a half to get to school on the bus in the morning, when there is bus in the morning. And so like the difference in that and half an hour is huge, just in the way they feel in the morning and the way they feel coming home in the afternoon. And then I apologize, we came in late. I had one question, which was a letter this week about the selective enrollment process from CPS. And I was under the impression that they were not going to take rankings. You could just list all of the schools you were interested in. But the letter again made it sound like you had to rank your schools. And that was a relief when we thought that was not the case. So I wonder what you knew about that, Ms. Doyle.
Miss Avery, correct. They are still ranking the schools. That's what I was under the impression, that they still were ranking them. I think that was back in one of your slides that you had. And when you said put down your number one, that they are your selective enrollment ones, you do rank those. And then your choice ones, you rank those also from 1 to 20.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they ask that you list the program that you want most as your first choice.
Yeah.
It's such a game then. It's such a unfortunate mathematical game that the kids play with themselves, even if they want to go to one school more. If they think they have a better chance at getting into a different school, they'll rank it higher, because if they rank it second, then they think they're not going to get in. And it's a failing in the system. And I was hoping we were out of it.
Could I clarify about how the system works here?
Sure.
You do not, if you want to go to school A more than school B, it never behooves you to put school A below school B. The way they have it is actually really nice. if you, they look and say, do you get accepted to your first choice school first? And if you don't, then they look to your second choice. And if you don't get in there either, they look to your third choice. It never behooves you to put a school you don't want on top of another one.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's what we were trying to say. Always put your number one school, number one. Because they say you put it number two, you put another school at number one, the system's gonna like, oh, you want to go to this school. So that's what, this was your first choice. We're giving you your first choice.
900?
Yeah.
Three.
Okay. Any other questions?
Hi, Christine. I actually have a question for you. As you just shared, your older daughter transferred from a different school to Jones. Is that part of the annual selective enrollment test that our kids essentially got into Leonard in the first place? Is that a similar process?
No, transferring in high school, especially to a selective enrollment school, is really hard. And she did not have to retake that selective enrollment high school test again. It was based on her first semester grades and activities and recommendations out of the high school that
Principal discretion.
and yeah, basically principal discretion. So, like there's that little teeny percentage that
Yeah,
take
got
in
it.
discretion.
Yeah.
And so it was really, she worked really hard and she got really lucky. She was, got days, she got great recommendations. She was on the debate team and Jones was just starting a debate team. So there were things they liked about her and her portfolio. She was like in history fair and science fair and all that stuff wide.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Good to know. That's good for her. Yeah, well earned.
I have a question on something that I heard. If your kid is, say, a good swimmer and the high school has a phenomenal swim team, is there such thing as a principal shortlist that they would consider your child if maybe one of the grades or tests is almost there, but not quite?
Well, say they don't get into their first choice, you can try through principal discretion and we could write about what a great swimmer she is and things like that. That is not guaranteed.
Okay.
We could reach out to the coach. And I'm going to be honest with you, in all my years, I've only had one person get in with selective enrollment.
Okay.
And, we've written a lot of letters. So I'm not really sure. I would say just keep talking to the coach and maybe, make sure the coach knows who you are. And if that comes to it, maybe the coach would have I don't know if there's some secret list out there. I wish I could help you because I know you're a phenomenal swimmer.
So I do know that I think the principals have a 10% of the seats for principal discretion. And so there is, they still look at all of the same data, but then there's a little application there where you have to write and tell why you want to go to the school and recommendations, and then they'll decide. So it's based on 10% of their seats. So yeah. Okay.
Where do you see these applications?
That's totally different. That's after the selection, say like spring, you don't get in what school you wanted to go into, then it's a whole different application process.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, that's like a second round almost application process. So we're almost not even going to talk about that. Hopefully
I won't
we
say
won't have to do that. Thank you so much. Do we have any other questions or concerns?
Yes, I have one. Going back to the point calculator. Okay, so I know you said that you work with the kids for them to put their numbers in for the NWEA for reading and math and their 7th grade reading and math scores.
It was actually reading, math, science, and social studies.
Yes. Okay. Yes, I see that.
Okay.
And so those numbers are automatically calculated, right?
Yes.
And so the last row is what's needed, right?
I think so. I haven't seen it on their end, but that last row, but what's needed would be, you remember it's also, it does not count their entrance exam test yet. So
It
it's
doesn't.
almost like what they need to get on their entrance exam to be, maybe to go to this next school.
Okay. And so the numbers are at the top is a cumulative of the NWEA 7th grade. And so those numbers are added together?
Yes.
Okay.
Right. So right
Gotcha.
now, their highest score they can have is 600 points.
The highest is 600. Okay.
Because you get a 75 points for every A you get in 7th grade. So that's 300 points. And then I believe the NWA is also worth 300 points. They would calculate that all for you.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Also, Ms. Doyle, a question. So
Yeah.
you're putting in the calculator the percentile score, not necessarily the actual score, because the percentile is based on where they score and also kind of growth, right? So
Right.
it's the percentile, not necessarily. So they could have a higher percentile score, but maybe a lower actual raw score out of those 3 tests. Is that correct? That's
Correct,
what I'm
yes.
reading. Okay.
Right. You
thank
put in
you.
their percentile.
Okay.
So like if they're the 90th percentile or 89%.
Right, whatever's in that middle, with
Yes.
that document you sent, got it. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, no, thanks.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Doyle, I came in late. So where is this calculator tool that everyone's speaking
So
about?
we actually did it in class, so Reed would know. It is also, if you look in the chat, it's on CPS. If I could scroll up in the chat, Miss Avery put it in. If you look in the chat, and just put it in again. It's Go CPS High School Resources. So if you look at that, that's where that's at. Thanks. Ms.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have those because I came in late, so I don't see those links.
Well, Miss Avery just put it right in right now, too.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Ms. Doyle, so for the score test system, I guess the points needed for the last score is for the selective enrollment programs, not for the choice programs for each schools, right?
Correct. Choice program is the lottery. So it'd be like the magnet schools and the lottery. So that's how you get into that. And the select enrollment is the one that's worth the 900 points.
Got it. Thanks.
Sure. Okay, I think we're running out of time. Can I take any last questions? And thank you for the parents that are giving their expertise. That is very helpful.
So did you mention that they're going to be using tiers based on where you live?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And where do you find out your tier?
That's also on this website too. And even if you just Google CPS tiers, it comes up on Google and you just put in your address and it will tell you what tier you're in.
Okay.
The link was also just put in the chat box.
Okay.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, great. Thank you so much. And if you come across like tonight, you're thinking, oh, I wish I would have asked that question, please reach out to us and we will get back to you as fast as we can, as soon as we have the right answer for you. And yeah, no problem. Anytime, just email us and we will get right back to you. And we'll do this process together. And you'll hear from us in November if you haven't submitted yet. You'll hear from us a couple times a day.
Yes, and also if you do have questions and you want to walk through this together as well when the application opens, I'm more than happy to do that. So we are definitely here to help in whatever way is needed. Well, thank you all for coming. We appreciate
Thank you
your
so
time.
much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, ladies. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you very much.
Is there contact information for Ambry Avery?
Yes, and she's on the school website also.
Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you both so
Sure.
much.
And then she just put it in the chat.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Good night.
Good night. We still have some people.
Thank you. Good night. Great,
Good night.
great session.
Thank you.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Ryan?
Oh, there we go. So Miss Avery, I can just send the link to this class from this recording?
Should be able to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when I was uploading them in the spring, I would have to wait for it to download. Do I have to wait or will I be able to do it right away?
I'm not sure. You're still recording though.
I know. So we can still hear our tips. I will stop recording so I can get my tips across.